We were only supposed to be passing through Rajasthan, just one stop on a longer trip, backpacking across India, chasing temples, street food, and those off-map ruins travel blogs always oversell. We weren't spiritual, we weren't brave. We were just looking for stories. We didn't realize we were walking into one that had been waiting. There were 4 of us. Sam, the type who joked too loud and filmed everything for YouTube. Nia, his girlfriend, majoring in comparative mythology with a quiet obsession for temple architecture. Jordan, skeptical, sarcastic, never far from a cigarette or a cutting remark. And me, Daniel. I was the planner, the one who carried backup chargers and first aid kits, the one who kept everyone alive, mostly. We were supposed to be heading west from Bundy to Pushkar, but the local driver we'd hired, the 3rd one that week, insisted he knew a faster way through the hills. He didn't. We lost signal an hour into the shortcut. That was when we saw it, rising out of the dust like something exhaled from the earth. A temple, hidden between crumbling ridgelines, partially buried in sand. No signage, no gates, just weathered stone steps rising toward a crooked tower. Sam leaned forward from the van's window, eyes wide. Guys, tell me you're seeing this." Nia had already pulled out her notebook. "It's not on any of the ASI maps. It's not even labeled." "That's because we're the first ones dumb enough to stop," Jordan muttered. "Seriously, look at it. Half of it's underground. There's no path, no pilgrims, no—" We stopped the van anyway. The air outside was hot and brittle, dry enough to sting your eyes. Up close, the temple was even stranger. The base had partially sunken into the earth, but the carvings were still intact, at least on the surface. Angular gods with inhuman faces, spirals within spirals. 1,000 tiny eyes chiseled into the stone. 2 broken elephant statues flanked the entrance, one with its face bashed in, the other with its trunk curled backward, like it was blowing a warning no one had listened to. And above the threshold, scrawled in faded red paint, not carved, not ancient, was a line in looping English: "After sunset, never answer your own voice." That should have been enough. But we were idiots, young, curious, immune to consequences. "I mean, that's gotta be some art student's idea of spooky," Sam said, already filming. "It's perfect. This'll kill on TikTok." "Sun's going down soon," I warned, checking the time. 5:46 p.m. The sky was already deepening into burnt orange. "We're not staying long," Nia said. "Just a few photos. It might not even be registered." "No such thing as an undocumented temple," Jordan said flatly. "Not in a country with 5,000 years of written history." He was wrong. We climbed the steps, flashlights in hand, and crossed into the temple just as the last sunlight touched the ridge. The air shifted immediately. It wasn't just cooler, it was thicker, like stepping underwater, like something was holding its breath. Inside, the floor was patterned with concentric circles, worn but still visible. A mandala, faintly glowing with some kind of mica dust. At the center, a jagged crack, as if something had once clawed its way out. Naya knelt beside it, brushing away debris. "This style is ancient, but it's wrong. These symbols don't belong together." She was right. Some of the inscriptions looked Egyptian. Others were from the Indus Valley. Some were completely alien, curling marks that bent the light oddly when you stared too long. It was like someone had taken the languages of a dozen dead civilizations and forced them to share the same sentence. That's when we heard the voice, a man's voice, raspy, low, echoing from deeper inside. At first, we thought it was Jordan messing with us. Then Jordan turned and whispered, "I didn't say anything." We stood still. The voice came again. "Hello? Is someone there?" Faint, familiar. It was Sam's voice. But Sam was standing right next to me. "Okay, screw this," Jordan said. "We're leaving. This is some kind of echo chamber or—" The stone door behind us slammed shut. No sound, no warning, just a thud. We ran to it, pushing, shouting, but it was sealed, one solid slab. No hinges, no mechanism. Sam pounded on it. "This is a joke, right? This is a prank." Naya's flashlight flickered. Then she pointed to the wall beside the door. Someone had etched 4 names into the stone. Ours, Sam, Naya, Jordan, Daniel. Below them, in the same looping script. You heard yourself. You answered. Silence. The mandala at the center of the room began to glow brighter. Jordan stepped back. This isn't a temple, it's a stage. A ritual space, Naya said quietly, but not for worship. I looked around. There were no idols, no altars, no offerings, just mirrors, hundreds of tiny, blackened mirror fragments embedded in the stone, angled in ways that showed us reflections we didn't recognize, reflections that moved wrong, reflections that didn't match. Then I saw mine. And for one terrifying second, it smiled, but I didn't. Then something deeper shifted. From the corridor beyond the mandala, a shape appeared. Human silhouette, limping slightly. It moved closer. Sam raised his flashlight. The figure stepped into the edge of the beam. It was him, not similar, identical. Same shoes, same band tee, same camera slung over his shoulder. The mimic grinned, eyes flickering with light that didn't belong to any living thing. Then it said, "I told you I was here." Sam froze. Nia screamed, and somewhere, deep in the stone, something began to turn. A sound like stone grinding against bone. A clock, restarting after centuries. A trap, resetting. We ran. No discussion, no plan, just instinct, back toward the entrance that wasn't there anymore, through corridors that hadn't existed a moment ago. The walls seemed to breathe, not literally, but with the weight of memory. Everything here felt old, yes, but also repeating, worn smooth by something other than time. Behind us, footsteps followed, perfectly matching our own, but the mimic, Sam's double, never ran. It just walked, patient, smiling, like it knew where we were going before we did. We turned a corner and found a new chamber, this one wider, with a low ceiling carved into layered rings like a nautilus shell. In the center, another mandala, this one covered in a fine layer of sand. Not dust, sand, like desert had been poured here intentionally. There were footprints in it, 4 sets, leading in a perfect circle. Nia crouched near them. "They're ours." "What?" Jordan barked. "I recognize the tread on your boots," she said. "And mine. But these weren't just made, they're fossilized into the pattern." Sam's flashlight swept across the chamber and stopped on a new inscription etched above an archway. "You are the echo. You were always the echo." That's when we heard the voice again, from the far hall, a whisper. "Daniel." My name, drawn out like a thread pulled too tight. It was my voice. I looked at Sam, then Jordan, then Nia. No one had spoken. "Help me, Daniel, please." Nia's hand clamped onto my arm. "Don't answer it." I wasn't going to. "You were about to." She was right. There was something pulling at me. Not like hypnosis, like memory. Like it was speaking from a place I'd already been. Then Jordan took a step forward. "I think it's coming from the stairs." "There are no stairs," Sam said. But there were, suddenly. A spiral staircase, narrow and stone-carved, led downward into the dark where no light reached. "None of this makes sense," Jordan muttered. Sam raised his voice. "Okay, how about we just stop playing this game and kill that thing? It's mimicking us. It's just code or biology. Either way, it can bleed." "No," Nia whispered. "It doesn't want to kill us." Sam looked at her. "What?" "It wants to wear us." We went down the stairs anyway, not because it was smart, but because there was nowhere else to go. The spiral was steep and disorienting, and at one point I swear it flipped upside down. I was staring at the ceiling, but my feet were still on the steps. Gravity bent for a second, then snapped back. When we reached the bottom, the air was colder, almost wet. The hallway here was built differently. Not sandstone, black slate, veined, slick to the touch. The walls were lined with broken mirror shards set into the stone like eyes. They reflected things that weren't happening. I walked past one and saw myself turn around when I hadn't moved. Sam's reflection winked at me, then bled from the mouth. Jordan's didn't appear at all. And Naya, her reflection watched her, but didn't mirror her. When she stepped left, the image stepped right. Delayed, off sync. "I don't think they're reflections," she whispered. "They're replacements." We pushed deeper. At a bend in the hall, we found a collapsed altar. It looked scorched, as if something had burned from within it, not on top of it. Behind it, a mural was partially visible. I cleared the soot with my sleeve. 4 figures knelt before a 5th, no faces. All 5 were identical, each holding masks, and underneath, in that same curling English, "One may leave if one stays behind wearing the rest." That's when Jordan screamed. We spun. He was gone. The hallway behind us was gone. In its place, a narrow passage leading somewhere else entirely. Stone grates, carved eyes, red glow. I shouted his name and heard it echo back perfectly, too perfectly, then again, closer. "Daniel, this way." But the voice was wrong now, still mine, but smiling, like a stranger using my mouth. We bolted. The hallway twisted. Every 10 steps, it branched into identical paths. And worse, the air started feeling familiar, as if we'd already walked through it, as if our lungs remembered this oxygen. Then we saw something we shouldn't have. Our shadows, stretched out on the wall ahead of us. But they were moving the wrong direction, walking toward us. We froze. One of the shadows raised its hand. I did not. Then it whispered, no sound, just the motion of lips, "Stay." We turned and ran the other way. At the next bend, we burst into a room of tall, narrow columns. Each column had a face carved into it. Ours. Hundreds of them. Each one subtly different. Some with mouths open, some with closed eyes, some cracked down the middle. "I think we've been here before," Naya said softly. Sam nodded. "Yeah." I stared at him. "You mean like deja vu?" "No, I mean we've been here before. I think this is where we ended." That's when Jordan walked in, from the other side of the room, alive, breathing, calm. "Hey," he said. We stared. He was spotless, not dusty, not scraped, perfectly clean. Too perfect. Sam moved forward. "Jordan, where the hell did you—" Naya grabbed his arm. "Wait." Jordan looked at me. "You followed your own voice, didn't you?" I didn't answer. He smiled. "That's how it starts." Sam raised his flashlight and stepped forward. "Prove it's you," he said. Jordan tilted his head. Then, impossibly, repeated Sam's voice perfectly. "Prove it's you." Then again and again, layered, sinking, until Sam dropped his light and stumbled back. That's when the real Jordan screamed, from somewhere far behind us. This time we knew it was real. Because it was cut short, and because the Jordan in front of us grinned wider. His face stretched, eyes too black, skin loose like it hadn't been worn in a while. We didn't kill it. You can't kill something that was never alive. We just ran, back into the maze, through walls that folded inward, through loops that didn't close, until we collapsed into the original chamber, the mandala room, where it had all started. Only now, there were 5 sets of footprints in the sand. One led in circles, one stopped at the center, and the other 3 led nowhere. We were back in the first room, at least that's what it wanted us to believe. Same mandala, same stone walls, same faintly glowing symbols. But the air was wrong, heavier and colder. The sand on the floor was still patterned with our footsteps, but now the trail that had once gone in circles had begun to spiral inward, into the center of the mandala, like the temple was watching us realize something. Nia stood over the inscription again. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. Sam was sitting against the wall, shaking. I crouched beside him. "We're not done yet." "I think we are," he muttered. I grabbed his shoulder. "Look at me." He didn't. He said, "What if this isn't the first time we've been here?" I froze. He kept going. "What if this place copies us every time we answer, every time we step toward the voice?" He looked up finally. His eyes weren't right, too still, too flat. I stood up fast. Nia turned to me. "What is it?" "That's not Sam." It stood slowly, smiling. "After sunset," it whispered. "Never answer your own voice." It wasn't mocking. It was remembering. The mimic grinned and began to peel away its face. Slowly, not blood and skin, but ash and fabric, like removing a costume. Beneath it, no features. Just smooth, pale surface, like wet marble, blank. We ran, back through the corridor with the mirrors, now cracked and twitching. The reflections showed all 4 of us, over and over. But they were all different versions. Some burned, some frozen, some blind. One version of Nia was covered in black eyes that blinked slowly, out of sync. I stopped. One mirror near the floor reflected a figure behind me, not in the hall, but in the mirror only. It looked like me, older, hollow-eyed, wearing robes, carving a name into a wall. My name. Daniel. It looked up. You're almost ready. We fled again. At some point, we stopped recognizing the layout at all. Corridors became catacombs. Symbols melted into roots. The walls weren't just stone anymore. They were stitched together, tightly woven seams of something too dark to name. Eventually, we collapsed into a small chamber, the only one we hadn't seen yet. At its center was a slab, an altar, and on it, a book, ancient, bound in leather, dustless, open. Naya stepped forward. No way. What? Her face had gone pale. It's real. I walked up beside her. The journal's pages were filled with handwritten entries in dozens of languages. Old ink, red smudges, field diagrams, stamped symbols, and one unmistakable title burned across the top of the inside cover. The Blacklight Journal Item 34. Nameless Temple, Rajasthan Sector. Containment. Failed. Memory loop active. Naya read aloud from one of the later entries. The temple's intelligence is mimetic. It does not lure with strength, but familiarity. The face, the voice, the echo. It requires one sacrifice to anchor itself, one to wear and one to leave. Warning, those who exit may not be the same. Confirmation pending. Do not trust survivors. Anchor itself, I whispered. That's why it wants us to listen. It's not just copying, it's trying to replace. Naya nodded slowly. It doesn't trap the body, it traps the identity. And the one that walks out may not be the one that walked in. Suddenly we heard Jordan's voice again, close, desperate. Naya, please, don't leave me. She turned, but I grabbed her arm. No, don't answer, not yet. Jordan stumbled into the room, or something wearing his face. He was covered in dust and sweat, bruised, bloody, but his eyes were clear, too clear. He looked at the book, at us, and without hesitation said, "One of us has to stay." Silence. Then Naya asked, "Why you?" He smiled weakly. "Because I never left the first time." And before we could speak, he walked forward and laid down on the altar. The mandala beneath us lit up again, and in the moment it began spinning, the mimic stepped into the room behind us. But it wasn't Jordan anymore. It was me, perfectly mirrored, same expression, same wound on the right arm. It even held its breath the same way I did when I was afraid. Naya screamed. I stepped back, raised my hands. "I'm the real one. So am I," it said. Even my voice cracked the same way. Naya looked between us. "Which one?" "Ask us something only I would know," I said quickly. The mimic laughed. "We share the memories now." Naya reached into her pocket, pulled out something, a torn scrap from the journal. She'd ripped it out while we weren't looking. She held it up. "What did I underline?" The mimic smiled. "You didn't." I said, "Line 3. Do not trust survivors." She grabbed my arm, and the mimic hissed. Its face began to fold inward, like collapsing wax. The jaw melted into the throat. The skin peeled backward, revealing dozens of new faces underneath. Ours. Screaming. Then it lunged. I kicked the journal off the altar. The mimic missed me by inches, slamming into the stone as the mandala flared blinding white. And then, it was gone. We stood in the silence, panting. Around us, the chamber began to darken again, and in the middle of the altar, a new face was carved, Jordan's. The journal lay on the floor, open to the final page. In fresh handwriting, "One has stayed. The door may open. But never forget, it doesn't free you. It sends you back to bring more." The sun never came up. We stepped out of the temple into what looked like morning, light curling across the dunes, long shadows stretching over broken stone. But the light was wrong. It didn't feel warm, didn't rise, just hung there like a memory that hadn't been deleted yet. Naya was shaking, blood on her sleeve, ash in her hair. Neither of us said a word. We found the van where we'd left it, keys inside, windshield uncracked, as if no time had passed. I turned the ignition. It started without hesitation. But as we drove, bouncing over dirt roads that shouldn't have still existed, I checked my phone. It had power again, full bars. But the time? 5:46 p.m. sunset, the exact moment we had entered. I didn't speak, because deep inside, I knew. The temple never let go. It only reorganized. Back in Pushkar, we checked into a guest house using fake names. Not because we were hiding from police. We were hiding from reflections. In mirrors, our movements were always a split second behind. In windows, I'd catch us smiling when we weren't. On the third night, Naya asked a question. What if I answered without realizing it? I didn't reply, because I'd been wondering the same thing. What if the voices never stopped? What if we kept hearing ourselves, and eventually forgot the sound was wrong? We kept the journal page, the one she'd stolen. Folded into her boot, it had changed. At first it read, "One has stayed, one may leave." But now, ink had appeared at the bottom, same looping handwriting, same foreign rhythm. You are the gate now. And the gate must open again. 2 weeks later, I woke up to find Naya gone. No note, no message, no record. Hotel clerk didn't remember her. Even the bedsheet beside me was clean, like she'd never existed. But I remembered. I remembered the way she breathed when she was scared, the way she underlined words out of order, the scar on her wrist from when she fell into the Pushkar lake. I remembered, at least, I thought I did. Then I looked in the mirror, and her face blinked back at me. I ran. Back to Bundi, back to the ridge. The temple was gone. No stone, no statues, no entrance. Just wind and desert. But buried half in the sand was something else. A camera, Sam's, still on, still recording, battery blinking red. The last frame on the screen showed 4 figures entering the temple, then nothing, just static. And in the background, something like a face, reflected in a mirror shard near the door, watching, smiling. I left India 3 days later, but I wasn't alone. Because every night I still hear it. Not a voice, not at first. Just the sound of my own feet, pacing across stone, then breathing. Then, Daniel? Soft, familiar, and waiting for an answer.